Welcome to Common Sense Investing. My name is Cameron. This is another weekly live stream on Monday evening talking about microcap stocks because that's what I love to do. And if you're watching this video, you do too. So thank you for being here with me today. Do you feel like this? Right? This is the guy getting knocked out basically on the ground, barely alive with one hand on the rope. It's been a long November, it's been a long December, it's been a tough 2025 to be honest with you. So that is what I plan on talking about today. I do not have any specific stocks I want to talk about today. I'm going to talk more about kind of the state of microcaps right now and a few things that I'm looking for in 2026 to hopefully get our motivation going to keep microcap investing, that next year is going to be better. So as usual, I have a little presentation for you here today. If you want to talk about anything specific stocks or anything else, feel free to put it in the chat and I will get to it very, very soon. Getting excited for 2026. I already have 3 articles out right now for some of my favorite stocks for 2026. So this is currently on my Substack or on my Patreon. I have basically my favorite microcap stocks, which are stocks greater than a $20 million market cap. I have my favorite tiny stocks, which is stocks smaller than a $20 million market cap. And then I have my favorite wildcard stocks, which are, I didn't want to call them runners up, like they're the 6th to 10th most favorite stocks or anything like that. They were just truly some stocks that I think have some potential. I couldn't stop thinking about them, but they don't exactly fit the perfect mold. They are my wildcard stocks. So these articles are out right now, as well as we have been discussing them on the Patreon. And that's why I won't be talking about these stocks today, because this is simply not the time. What it is time to talk about is thank you. And now I really appreciate you being here. I do not market myself very often, but this is almost my 1-year anniversary with this current platform that I'm on with Substack and Patreon and YouTube and a website. Almost 1 year to this date. I had a channel that was 6,000 subscribers growing on YouTube, and it got completely banned from YouTube. I don't know why. They never really gave me a reason, and I was starting from scratch because it was my only platform, and it was devastating to me. And instead of giving up, I've just fought back harder, and instead of having one platform, which was YouTube, I opened up all these different platforms, including my Substack. So the thing is that I know at this time a lot of other Substacks and a lot of other platforms give out sales. I was thinking about it, and I do not really want to give out a sale. I put so much time into this. I put research, communication, so much effort, so many hours every week into my platform that most people don't see because it is behind a paywall. I have live streams, members only live streams. I have educational videos. I have daily discussions on stocks. I have all this content that many people don't see. I don't want to devalue myself when I feel like my prices are already pretty cheap at $8.99 Canadian a month, or US about $6.53, or $80 Canadian a year, or US around $58. So what I am doing in my paid membership is a Discord that is active and busy. I have a morning coffee talking about stocks in the morning. I have a daily recap of microcap stocks. There's lots and lots of discussion in this channel, in this Discord, if you're interested, as well as, like I said, I have live streams, members only live streams, and private videos that I have for my paying subscribers. But one of the things that I have been doing over the course of the year, and one of my themes for 2026 on this platform, and again, thank you to everybody who's watched me for the past year, I am going to double down on video content because I realize probably one of my greatest strengths is that I am a real human person, right? It seems like ChatGPT and artificial intelligence is taking over the microcap space. Substacks are filling up with AI garbage and all these different articles and analyst reports that just seem to be written by artificial intelligence. opinions. I am not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, but I am a real person with a real opinion, having real communication about microcap stocks and for microcap stocks, and hopefully some good ones. So I'm definitely going to leverage into that. In saying that, what I am going to offer, because I believe I offer a lot at an already good price, what I am going to do, the link in the chat, and I will put it in here, is that for anyone who is free or new subscribers to my Substack, up until the end of December, so up until December 31st, I am offering a free 30-day trial. So 30 days, try my platform, join the Discord, join the Substack, have conversations, watch the members-only live streams, look at the daily conversation. If it's not for you, no hard feelings. You're out of there, no problem. If it is, we make our Discord better, we get better communication, we get more investors looking at more stocks, and it's a win-win for everybody. So the link is in the live chat, as well as if you're watching this video later on, I will pin the pinned comment down below, will be the link to this 30-day free trial of Common Sense Investing. So thank you to everybody that's been watching me so far, and I hope that this channel just keeps growing in 2026, because we need it. We need more good, new, great microcap investors. I've always said that I think too many microcap investors see microcap investing as like a solo sport, where one person finds this one perfect stock and they're in there first, and that's their winning stock, and then they get rich. I don't really find it goes that way. I find that microcap investing is more of a team sport. More people researching a stock, more eyeballs on a stock, more opinions on a stock, all helps everyone make better decisions. So that is what I'm trying to do, is approach microcap investing as a team sport. So there's the offer. I'm not giving a sale for 2025 or 2026, but I am doing a 30-day free trial. Come and check it out. And that will pretty much be my marketing for the year. So we got some questions already before I get into the rest of my presentation. What do I think of Zoom? I could talk about Zoom later. Thank you for your work and your channel. Look forward to a new episode when they arrive. They will be coming in the new year. I spent a lot of time working on these lists for 2026. It's basically my entire December is figuring out what I think my top stock should be for the next year. Once that is done, once December is over, I am hoping to start looking at more new stocks here for 2026. You could delete Cove, which is Covalon, from any list for 2026. Big disappointment from the CEO. I kind of have to agree on that one. Yeah, I kind of have to agree on that one. This, if you go in the live chat, that is the link for the 30-day free trial right there. And somebody just joining right here. So hello. Let's get on with the rest of the presentation, and then I will basically answer questions. Now, don't forget, whether you're joining my 30-day free trial or whether you're watching this platform right here, I'm not a stock picking service, and I'm really not. Like I'm a communication service. I don't, advocate for anybody to buy, hold, or sell any stocks. That's not what I'm about. I'm basically communicating my opinion. We're talking about stocks. We're exchanging opinions. Everybody has to go do their own research. I don't know anything about you. So if you do join my platform or are watching this, it is very important to me, right? I am not a stock picking service. I don't want you to have that expectations. I am a communication service. And in communicating, this is the year, right? It's, can 2026 get here yet? This was my plan for the end of the year, right? I figured we'd have a lazy summer. I figured that, Q3, the tax season, the Christmas season, when people would have less money, would be in the red. So I was not super excited for the end of 2025. I really wasn't, though I was excited for 2026. However, at the same time, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I mean, I put in this fire and this little bear crying and this money flying away just a couple weeks ago, because I felt like just having this time of the year in red simply did not do it justice with how bad microcap stocks are right now. They are absolutely brutal. Now, in saying that, opportunity and volatility? I sure hope so. I mean, a lot of people that I talk to, especially in microcap stocks, it's amazing how many times I hear people say, I wish I could go back to 2022 when the market was really bad and we had all these great stocks sitting there for really, really cheap. And now those great stocks are up 200%, 300%, 500%. I wish I could go back to 2022. But when they were in 2022, they weren't buying because they were too afraid of the market, right? Is this another opportunity? Will we look back at this time in microcap stocks in December of 2025 and say, yeah, it was a shitty time, but I wish I could have gone back to December of 2025 and bought more stocks? I hope that happens. I hope that happens. But it's hard to say because 2025 has been a wild ride. It has been, even for experienced microcap investors. I put a post on X a couple days ago that basically said I've never traded, bought, sold more stocks than I have in 2025. And my time to go from discovering a stock to having a full position in a stock used to be 3, 4, 5, 6 months sometimes. I would go to research, to buy. It would take me months and months and months to build a position in a stock. It feels like in 2025, I had to make decisions extremely quickly. We're talking like 2 weeks or less to go from discovering a stock to having a full position to making money in a stock. That's not good. That's not healthy. I'm not bragging about that. What I'm saying is that 2025 was a very volatile year. And especially, I was pointing out here, right? Most best stocks of 2025, believe it or not, have no revenue. We saw a lot of stocks like gold and other commodities that were going up, junior mining stocks that just don't make anything yet, zero revenue. And they were some of the most successful stocks in the market this year. Other pre-revenue plays with potential. Liberty Stream, Alula Composites, right? There's a couple pre-revenue stocks that are up 300% in the back half of 2025. Very unpredictable. I find it interesting here. Like, is this the new economy? Uber has no cars, Airbnb has no houses, cannabis has no investors. That is damn funny. And the best stocks of the year have no revenue. I hope this is not the new economy. I hope this is not going to continue. But this, in my opinion, is what we see sometimes, right? 2025 has been volatile because earnings have been volatile. Volatile bad. At the start of the year, we had tariffs and trade wars, and then we thought, oh, we're going to recover from this, and June and July was a really nice market. We realized that it wasn't enough time. There were still contract delays. There were still shipping delays. And 2025 was volatile to almost wrecked. And the easy thing to do, the thing you cannot wreck, you can wreck earnings in a bad market. You can't wreck hope. You can't wreck potential, right? So we saw a lot of these pre-revenue stocks go up significantly in 2025 because they didn't ruin all this potential with actual facts, figures, numbers, and earnings or lack thereof of earnings, right? So that is what I feel like we saw in 2025 is that earnings were so bad. You couldn't get depressed for these potential stocks because they had no earnings. They had no revenue. So I hope that changes. We tend to go through these cycles where these boring, profitable stocks get ignored for a couple of years. And then all of a sudden people realize like, oh shit, right? Those are probably some of the best investments. And maybe we should go back investing into some of these boring, profitable stocks instead of these hyped up pre-revenue potential stocks. This makes me feel better because this has been my statement for a while is that I'm pretty excited for 2026. And when I see kind of similar statements here from an experienced microcap investor with way more time and resources than I have in Donville, Kent, basically saying, this is their post-correction playbook. They've done this a million times before. They've updated their funds forecast for 2026 revenue growth, earnings growth, and price to cash. And they're saying, 80% of the fund is set to have a record year in 2026 based on record fundamentals and cheap valuations. We expect significant stock returns from here in November and December of 2025. So, I mean, please, yes, that would be great. It definitely makes me feel a lot more comfortable when I am saying this and somebody like Donville Kent is also saying this. You have to be careful though with some of the wording, right? Like, if this is just a volatile market or we're seeing a pullback right now, probably not a great thing. If this is truly just a correction year and next year is going to be a return to normal, or a lot of these companies were going through a transition year, transitioning to a different form of revenue because of the changes, then this will potentially be a good thing. But I don't think it necessarily means that every stock in 2026 is going to rebound, right? Is your favorite stock on a pullback that's going to keep pulling back, or is this simply a transition year or a correction year for your favorite stock? That's why you have to do the research and figure it out, right? This also gives hope. Stocks tend to bottom on December 15th and rally into the end of the year. This is typically the Santa Claus rally. So guess what? Recording today, December 15th, according to the data today, I can give you the happy news that you're watching this live stream today, and this is the bottom. Of course, not according to me, but Ryan Dietrich here is saying that this is the bottom on December 15th, and I do absolutely hope this is true. It gives us hope because look, today is Monday, and it was a weekday today. It was a weekday today. I was looking at the CNN Greed and Fear here, and I actually thought we'd be in, fear or extreme fear. I'm actually kind of surprised to find right now that we are in neutral. Interestingly enough, when I look back at last year, right around this time, December 15th, we were exactly just about the exact same spot, right? So previous close was in fear at 42. 1 week ago, we were in fear at 31. 1 month ago, we were at extreme fear at 22. I think we reached as low as 6. So we have been improving, but we have improved to neutral. I mean, it's better than nothing, but man, we can get a little bit higher than that, can't we? I can't wait to someday see another extreme greed market for a little while. That would be nice. Now, we do have to be careful, right? We can't take these things for granted. I just showed you this chart, and everybody talks about the Santa Claus rally, and December 15th is the bottom. It doesn't always work that way. Now, keep in mind, 2025, again, has been a different year, a volatile year, a new U.S. administration that's volatile with Trump and tariffs and trade wars and everything else. I don't want to go through it all. But this little box here, this past year was supposed to be the Santa Claus rally. This is middle of December 2024 till about middle of January in this box of 2025. And you can see that at least last year in 2024, 2025, we did not get it. In fact, everybody was hoping for the Santa Claus rally. We got a little bit of a nice market here right up until about the middle of February. And then thanks to the trade war, I mean, it was down to there. That's pretty nightmarish. Since that time, of course, we've seen a much better market. At least this is not microcaps, but this is the S&P 500. So if this is what happened in 2025, why am I a little bit more excited about 2026? And this next slide is a little bit of a joke, but not truly a joke, is year-over-year comparables, right? If 2025 was truly a correction year, a transition year, if you've done your research, if you found some companies where that is truly the case in 2025, they had a challenging year, they had to invest in growth, and things will quote unquote return to normal in 2026, then thanks to these poor 2025 earnings, I would suggest there's definitely some stocks out there that are going to have some pretty good year-over-year comparables in 2026, and that could be a good thing. I will warn, you have to be careful, right? There is going to be a lot of companies out there you will see in 2026 that are starting to make some pretty big promises, right? Investment in growth was a success. The transition is complete. The sector is booming. You're going to get all these bullish statements. You have to make sure you do the research to find out whether that's true or whether that's simply 2025 was really bad and these companies are just kind of returning to somewhat of a better average type flow to their company, right? I said this in another post with Ryan Telford today, where he was saying that, what details should we be researching out there in microcap stocks? And he's thinking about earnings and numbers. And the first thing that came to my head about what details you should be researching is how honest management of a microcap stock is, and how often they promise something and actually execute on that promise. And that is one of the hardest things to research in microcap stocks, because you either have to go back and listen to earnings calls for like 2 or 3 years, or you just got to wait for a long amount of time and listen to earnings calls and read MD&As for a long time, right? Because this is what I'm worried we're going to see, is we're going to see a lot of different companies make a lot of different promises for 2026. And I will be watching to see which companies actually are able to execute on these promises and returning to some more normal numbers in 2026, and maybe even some growth, right? That would be nice. So what am I looking for? What am I looking for? And this is in one of my articles, the free part of the article before the paid part of the article, where I like to put some conversation, right? But I feel like 2026 has me a little bit more lower risk, right? The low risk stocks versus the high risk stocks right now, I feel, are kind of very evident, right? We have some businesses that even in a tough time are still have cash, still producing cash. Maybe growth is down, maybe expenses are a bit up, but overall the company is still healthy. And if the market improves, it will be a better stock in the long term. I do feel a little bit risk off right now, right? The other thing, again, maybe this is a bit risk off, is based on the fact that I feel like there's so many good companies out there at very good valuations. And some of these companies I've known and have been researching for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I know all the weeds. I know all the devil in the details. I know all their problems. And they're at such a low valuation that it's hard to introduce new stocks or research new stocks when a lot of my previous favorites are so low right now. So I do feel kind of bad in 2025. 2024, I introduced 55 new stocks to my channel. And in 2024, I only introduced 30. And I feel like, in 2025, I only introduced 30. And I feel like in 2026, I might be down to 20. I mean, there's just a little bit less risk tolerance right now than in the past. And when you get so many good stocks that are at low price valuations, it's hard to get excited about new stocks, right? But then, of course, that big thing again, this is repeated now about 3 times just in this live stream, is can we return to normal in 2026? One of the big things for me thinking that is possible, not only the adjustment period after tariffs and trade war and all that kind of stuff, but the US midterms are coming up November of 2026. So no government wants to go into the midterms with a volatile economy. You want to smooth things out. You want to get some growth. You want to make sure things are going well. So I hope with that kind of the return to normal in 2026 happens. For Canadian and my Canadian viewers, though, I am a little bit worried. One of the wild cards here in the deck is the USMCA and what happens there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for right now, right? And yeah, right, like it's hard to get excited by that new stock, that new risky stock that you've never heard about before. That's just, wow, look at the potential, and you're just doing your research, when I know there's so many good companies out there. I know right now they're at 8 times earnings, right? Oh yeah, sometimes the narrative is they're gonna suck in 2026, yet they've been a very good company for the past 18 months, but they're gonna suck in 2020. Very, very weird to see. I think there's some good companies out there. Ryan Telford, if Ryan Telford doesn't write a book, I'm going to have to write a book for Ryan Telford, right? And just get him to like okay it, because this guy has some tweets. If you don't follow Ryan Telford, especially this guy on Saturday, Sunday, just goes nuts. He just tweet after tweet after tweet. And it's basically everything that I'm thinking for the whole week. He just sits down on a weekend and writes some advice, some microcap stock advice. And it's like, yeah, this totally resonates for me, or at least gets me thinking about it, right? And I do find this interesting, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but Ryan says it's not about owning a business through stocks, because they will come and go, meaning businesses and stocks will come and go. It's about owning your investing strategy and your mindset, right? And part of that strategy he talks about here is that, yes, microcap stocks are risky, but our job as investors is to find the ones with the highest reward and risk ratios. So two fantastic items to talk about here from Ryan Telford, because I do agree with this one. And this is how I go through these months like November and December that were really bad with microcap stock prices going down, is I just have to look at it with a positive lens and, you know, say that December has given us a lot of time to figure out which stocks out there have the highest potential reward and risk ratios. And this gets easier as you get more experience. Like Donville Kent said, basically they're running the post-correction playbook because they've done it 100 times. But for new investors, especially who I try to help out on my channel, please remember, you stick to a strategy, you build a strategy that works for you, and then you go with what works. So right now, I have to be very, very happy that we have had a couple months now to kind of do some serious research, figure out which companies we want to buy, which ones we want to double down on, and we've had time to do that. Another one here, some advice from Ryan Telford. What is one of the most powerful investing factors? Industry momentum. I completely agree with that. If there is a wave, ride it. So my question for 2026, and what is getting me a little bit excited now, is looking at what is currently at the bottom potentially, and or what else can potentially move up from here, right? Is this going to be cannabis? Is this going to be housing or other construction? Is this going to be healthcare tech? Are microcaps in general at the bottom, and microcaps as a whole are going to be going up? That is a good question for me. I need to find, and I absolutely have done this in the past with significant success, right? If you look at Kraken Robotics, I was interested in Kraken Robotics because everybody was interested in aerial drones, and Kraken Robotics was in the underwater drone industry. I was looking at the industry momentum, and within that industry, I found Kraken Robotics. Again, recently, hard to say. It's hard for me to say, or for a lot of people to say, that I'm bullish on movies again, right? After COVID, nobody went to the movies. 2022, nobody went to the movies. 2023, 2024, and finally, look, just starting in kind of late 2024, look at D-Box, right? You cannot argue here that a big part of this is people starting to get bullish on the movie industry again a little bit, and D-Box is one of the companies that is taking advantage of this. And it's not because more people are watching movies, but basically they're getting more of your dollars for every movie you go see. They're looking for premium experiences, right? D-Box now is at a high, I guess, trim time. Potentially for some people, yeah, absolutely. Hash seems like a good stock, but it's down. Any ideas on that? I will talk about Hash. That is one of those stocks right here that goes perfectly with that slide. Is it at a bottom, right? So here's the thing, right? Part of what you must learn is how to handle mistakes and new facts that change the odds. Again, with the poker reference, this is from Charlie Munger. Life in part is like a poker game wherein you have to learn to quit sometimes when holding a much loved hand. And that's why right now I absolutely love, like, even if this was a financial advice video, this guy's loving cash right now. I can't wait to see what next industry sector is going to be hot for 2026. What next company or stock is going to benefit from that hot industry sector. So I absolutely love this advice. It tones down the temperature on microcaps having a bad and volatile year in 2025 if I think that the potential is there for a rebound in 2026 and I have some cash. Because this, again, for cash, this is very interesting for me, and this might be one of the first times this ever happened in my career of investing here. But a weird fact in 2025, half of my money-making stocks in 2025 weren't even on my radar January of 2025. Researching quickly and making quick, confident decisions really paid off this year, and that meant having cash. Now, this is interesting because one of the things that kind of goes against what I'm showing you here, right? So I do these lists every year. This is almost like negative advertising for myself. But this is also part of the reason why I love having the Discord and why I love having the Substack is you can plan all you want for the next year. And what's the quote from Mike Tyson? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Well, this year in 2025, we got punched in the face with a very volatile market. And you had to move away from these long-term decisions and the long-term research on these stocks that just were not going anywhere. And 2025, I find the investors that made the most money this year were able to make quick decisions on stocks that they found, research quickly, build some conviction quickly, and then build a position quickly. I mean, whether you're looking at a company like Name Silo or New Path or D-Box. I found out about D-Box in October of 2025. It was not on any of my lists for best stocks of 2025. I found them in October, right? Discovered by other fantastic microcap investors. Word started getting passed around, did your research quickly, and away it went. So that's why sometimes having that communication every day or every week absolutely helps. Now, this is one of my concerns with 2025 is I hope and I worry that we didn't do too good of a job, because a lot of the times on this channel, I talk about, protection of capital, investing into strength. Even right now, I'm saying I'm loving having a cash position. And I always advertise this book here as one of the first books that new investors should read, which is William J. O'Neill, How to Make Money in Stocks. And it's the Can Slim strategy of basically investing into strength and keeping cash when their strength isn't there. And I'm worried it's working too well, because if you look at a stock like Zoomed, right, the second it saw success here and started going up, you could just see microcap investor money flowing in. People were investing into strength, making those quick decisions in 2025. This is probably not a stock that many of you had on your list at the start of the year. Maybe you even hadn't fully researched it yet, but people made money on these moves by moving quickly and making these decisions. However, at the same time, you could see this quick and confident protection of capital as people also sold quickly. In fact, they sold probably quicker than they bought. So you can see there's a difference here, and I always talk about this, between investing and trading. And this is not necessarily trading. This is simply, I think, good Can Slim microcap investing. Unfortunately, this is one of the superpowers of retail, small retail investors, is you could buy and you could sell quickly. And man, did people ever take advantage of that in 2025. Now, I'll talk more about Zoomed. I know some people want to talk about Zoomed and D-Box, but I'm going to start talking about a few different stocks here. But before I get into that, keep in mind my strategy. I just talked about strategy. My strategy never changes. Basically, I build a thesis. Sometimes this takes me a while to do this. Sometimes, like I said, I could do it very quickly, and I'm comfortable with just buying a very small position, right? If I do a ton of research, I'll probably buy a larger position, but I'm fine with just doing a little bit of research and buying a small position. What's more important to me in my strategy is after that, evaluating the inputs, earnings, news, any other inputs that come in. Every input that comes in, I evaluate or reevaluate my thesis and then make that decision to buy, add, hold, trim, or sell. And again, I feel like buying and selling is kind of the superpower of small retail investors, because this is very hard for larger investors and institutions to do, because when they buy, they drive up the price, and when they sell, they drive down the price. So adding, holding, and trimming, that's a good thing to do, but I think small retail investors definitely have an advantage in microcap stocks. U.S. stocks are doing very well right now. AudioEye is down. Tax season came earlier for Canadian stocks, I find. We usually get some tax losses late November to mid-December in Canadian stocks. The US stocks, it seems to be happening now. Audio Eyes down. I thought they had a pretty good quarter. They're up as high as $14 or $15, but the thesis is still proven out. Zedge did very, very well recently. It went up to like $4 or something like that. Again, Zedge had a pretty good quarter. This is one of my favorite US stocks. And then finally, we have NextGel. Again, it spiked up recently, I think, to about $1.76 on an absolutely fantastic deal they did. But this is also one of the stocks in my favorite tiny stocks for 2026 article that you would be looking at, right? And this is the type of thing that I look at in some of these articles, putting together, again, because I'm not a stock picking service, I'm just a communication service, talking about the bear case, which is rare for some other people and other platforms. But I talk about some of the bear cases about some of these stocks and then some of the bull cases and let you decide. Now, if we're looking ahead to 2026, what industry sectors are going to outperform in 2026? Is it going to be the US stocks? Are the US stocks going to finally get a rebound in 2026 and US microcaps are going to do well? Right? Why are cannabis stocks on fire right now? Potentially, President Trump is reportedly moving to reclassify cannabis to Schedule 3. This simple move instantly kills the tax burden for the industry. Companies have cash flow to expand, drives major investment, generates jobs. Is cannabis going to be the industry sector that booms in 2026? That would be nice. There's a few US stocks that I like, even though this one here is on the CSE in Canada, right? Up 14%. This is a US cannabis stock, right? Grown Rogue, not super bullish on this one, but I know a lot of people are up about 5% on this news as well. This is a US cannabis stock. And even the Canadian cannabis stocks are doing a little bit, at least Decibel is a little bit okay on this news, with Oxley back up to 15.5 cents and Decibel back up to 12 cents. So is cannabis going to be that industry that booms in 2026? Is it going to be construction? I don't know if you noticed CEMATRIX announced today another $6.9 million contract, new contract awards. That's $50.5 million in new contract awards for this year. They do most of their construction in the United States. Is the economy returning to normal? I actually thought CEMATRIX would drop down to about 31, 32 cents. They have not done that thanks to these types of announcements. They're back up to 35 cents. Is the construction industry going to be booming in 2026? Is home construction going to be an improving sector in 2026? Building permits are up. Look at this. Alberta up 12%, Saskatchewan up 13%, Ontario apparently up 34%. That's a miracle. New Brunswick, where Atlas AEP is at, up 22.9%. So the building permits are potentially an indication for housing construction being bullish again in Canada. Is that going to be what's bullish in an industry sector that's hot in 2026? How about ad tech? Ad tech is absolutely destroyed right now. Zoomed. You want to talk about Zoomed and why Zoomed is potentially, Zoom Technologies is down so much. This is the Trade Desk. This is a U.S. advertising ad tech company. This is a $17 billion market cap company that was like an $80 billion market cap company. It is down 72.67% in the past 12 months. For ad tech, it's destroyed. So when you look at Zoomed and it's down 65%, 55%, Savio Holdings, another microcap ad tech stock, down about 65%. None of the microcap ad tech stocks are even down as much as the Trade Desk in 2026. It is shocking. So is the market wrong? Is ad tech going to be a booming industry sector in 2026? My presentation is over. Let me know what you think. What's your opinion? What stocks do you want to talk about? Which industry sector is going to be booming in 2026 that we should be looking at? I'd love to hear your opinion. Before I move on, This is December. This is the season of giving. It's also a good gift sometimes to give charity donations or just feel good about yourself. Every year I promote the West Coast Kids Cancer Foundation. One of the reasons is this is a grassroots charity, and right now they have an anonymous donor that is going to double your impact up until $40,000. Every dollar that is donated to this charity is going to be doubled. So if you donate $1, $2 is going to go to the West Coast Kids Cancer Foundation, and I really like what they're doing. So that is my presentation. That is my pitch for my articles. That is my pitch for not having a sale, but offering a 30-day free trial, with that being in the comments. And now I'm done. Let's get to some comments. Oh, can't wait. You know, I try to have a smile on my face. You know, you have to have a smile on your face for the bear markets because those are the best buying opportunities. But man, after 2025, can we have a good year, please? Can we have a good year? What do you think of Zoomed? I just bought a position. Jordan Zinberg had it for his top pick in the last couple weeks. So yeah, Zoomed, I've loved Zoomed. Zoom was introduced to me at 16 cents. It had already doubled from 8 cents. It was introduced by the Microcap contrarian Rahil at 8 cents, I believe. I picked up on it at 16. I mean, it's a fantastic company is what I think. They have high conversion from revenue down to their net income in cash. They have $18.2 million in cash. They recently used $3.5 million in cash to buy back the in-the-money options, which would have diluted shareholders by 3.5%, which was pointed out by the Wolf of Oakville. So, I mean, this is a good company with growing revenue that's transitioning nicely to the bottom line and is making shareholder-friendly decisions. It's down right now. It's an ad tech stock. Ad tech is getting destroyed. There's concerns about losing or reducing their number one and number two customers, which are probably, we don't know for sure, but are probably Shine and Amazon Music. And you know how it goes. When things are bad, when the narrative is bad, when ad tech is down, when anything is down, everybody overanalyzes all the problems, and Zoom's share price is down. It's down to the point of, like, people think it's probably going to have negative growth in 2026. And it might have negative growth in 2026. I'm not ruling that out, right? Sometimes it's tough to bet against the market here. But we also have coming up in 2026, and why I mentioned ad tech, what do we have? The FIFA World Cup. We have the U.S. midterms, which, you know, political parties need to advertise for. We have the Olympics. Like, there does seem to be quite a few big events in 2026 that would help ad tech stocks, as well as the major thing is my entire thesis for 2026 is a return to normal. If we can get a return to normal economy and people start spending money again, all of a sudden ad tech looks a little bit more attractive, right? So Zoomed has been a great company, and it's fascinating that at least recently I've seen people very skeptical about them to the point of saying that they're a fraud, right? Like, that's how negative people get. This has been one of the best stocks of 2025. It's absolutely crushed it. Right up until recently, it went up to $2.74. So Zoomed has been doing wonderful. Their 2026 is a little bit, you know, it's not clear what that's going to look like, but it's still a very, very good company, right? And it's got options. Does it? It's got $18.2 million in no debt. Do they buy another company? Does Zoom buy another company? Does Zoom get bought out by another company? They would be very attractive for a buyout, right? So yeah, I'm working on some new ideas for 2026 for sure for my next videos. Covalon. You could delete Covalon from any list for 2026. Big disappointment from the CEO. I have. So I pointed out some concerns with Covalon a while ago. I did get tired about their communication. They're not listening to investors. Investors are asking specific questions, and Covalon has been giving generic answers. I don't like that. Their communication platform is very poor. I wish that they would improve communication. They still have potential, but a lot of stocks have potential right now. So this is more of a wait and see. Again, this is the link for the 30-day free trial to try out my platform fully. Live streams, members only live streams, daily research, daily stock discussion on the Discord. Join that if you want to. My thoughts on Air IQ, saw small cap discoveries, talked to leadership recently. So I need to, again, one of the problems with this time of year is that I've been too busy to look into new stocks. I've been kind of focusing on my lists for 2026. Air IQ is up high on my list to research again here in the new year and take another look at. So Air IQ was very comparable to Beware Holdings, where they were both doing like a Internet of Things tracking device. It's just there's more potential growth in Beware Holdings, slightly better margins in Beware Holdings, and arguably, at least at the time, better leadership in Beware Holdings. So Beware Holdings has really taken off as a stock. It seems like Air IQ just took a little while longer, right? It took them a little while. They're not a bad company. It just took more time than Beware took. And they are improving, and share price has been going up. Now, if you want more information about Air IQ, if you're looking for more information, I'm not giving that to you. Again, why I like this stock is this is a Jerry Wimmer stock. So if you go to X, the old Twitter, you look up Jerry Wimmer, which is at InvestorFile, I think is his username. And this is one of Jerry Wimmer's picks. And the guy's got some bangers, including some stocks that we've completely agreed upon. Jerry was also very bullish in Gatekeeper Systems, which is up significantly right now. Jerry likes Caldwell Partners, Air IQ. There's a whole bunch of iFabric that Jerry's into. Jerry Wimmer is a fantastic investor. So yeah, it looks like Air IQ could potentially be a winning stock in 2026. I need to dig in a little bit more. I haven't had the time. Agree with you, a lot of stocks with good fundamentals at low value. Hey Cameron, Hash seems like a good stock, but it's down. Any ideas on that? So Hash is simply solventless concentrates. It is the cannabis stock that went through an accounting correction that many people were not happy with, to the point of calling them very, very ugly names. And Hash is going to have to climb, like Paul Andreola says, that wall of worry, where they're going to have to, prove that they're a good company after this accounting change that really just, it broke trust with a lot of investors. This microcap space is a space that if you don't have trust, you don't have very much, right? And they broke a lot of trust. But one of the reasons why it's down now is, despite all their bullish statements, their inventory keeps going up, meaning they're not selling it. And that's the concern. I think recently they have $22 million of inventory. Right? They got $22 million of cannabis inventory sitting there not selling. So how are we supposed to take that? I think it's gone from 15 to 16 to 18 to 22 million. They need cash and they're not selling their inventory. That's a problem. If that could change, if Hash could somehow prove to the market that they're going to turn over their inventory, they're going to sell that $22 million of inventory, that all their new inventory is going to come through and get sold at a good rate, share price, I can almost guarantee, would go up, right? But because it's not, you look at any company that's not selling their products, you go walk by a store and there's nobody in the store and the shit isn't selling off the shelves. That's not a great look. So that's what's going on. They need to sell their inventory. You see people in the store and you see product flying off the shelves, and that looks like a lot more of an interesting company. I'm not going to say I trimmed D-Box, and that was a mistake. I trimmed some D-Box at like 71 cents Canadian. It's done nothing but go up. So it's interesting. Yeah, I know a lot of people have made D-Box is a fantastic example of 2025 where it took me almost 3 days. I think from 3 days from basically I started my research, and by the third day of my research, I had a full position in D-Box. Like, that's how quick. I've almost never done that before, but that was the only seeming way to make money in 2025, because after I built my full position in D-Box, which was around 28 cents Canadian, it had already gone up 100% when I built my full position. And I I think it took a week or two to go up to 65 cents, and now it's up to $1. So, I mean, things happen incredibly quickly in 2025. You know, I don't have any thoughts on Charbonne. Again, I've been requested this stock, I think 2 or 3 times now. I thought it was this graphene stock. It's not. Charbonne is a hydrogen company, right? They're going to be producing some kind of like energy plants based on hydrogen. That's a pretty new tech. That's a tech that requires a lot of research. Again, because it's December and I just gave all my statements in this presentation, right? I'm busy figuring out my portfolio and my list for 2026. I'm not super excited to look at new stocks when a lot of these older stocks are good companies and at low valuations. So companies like Charbonne, I will probably look at January, February. We have lots of time. One of the things with microcap stocks now is we're not going to see Q4 and full year audited earnings until March, April, right? So we now have January, rest of December, January, February, March. We got 3 months to basically do our research up ahead of the full year and Q4 and full year earnings, audited earnings. So we have some time. That is when I will be looking at more new stocks. Like DVOX. Never heard of DVOX? I'll take a look at, I think you meant DBOX, not DVOX. Yeah. NextGel and Zedge. Yeah, I mean, it's, I wrote in, I think NextGel on the US side, I'm pretty excited about that one, right? That was a smart decision from management. They took a product in their NextGel RX, which is, NextGel makes hydrogel. So hydrogel is basically a film of water. That's all it is, like 97% water. You could put it on Band-Aids, you could put it on medical devices, and one of the things that they were looking at doing is putting drugs in the hydrogel. And as you put a hydrogel patch on your body, it would slowly distribute the drugs into your system. And this had a lot of potential. But when you're a tiny $12 million market cap company, you don't have the cash to put the money into research and development and marketing and sales for a new product like that. So NextGel actually went and spun that out and have people financing it. So it's not their problem anymore, but they get a lot of money potentially if they get any winning products for this. So that was a really nice decision, I think, from NextGel. Maybe mining stocks will be the movers. I don't know if I count on it. Look, I recently put a post on X. I'm so happy, right? I always talk about this. I'm like, I'm not a mining guy. Junior miners, junior oil and gas, it's just not really my thing. And what I see is I have a lot of friends that are in junior mining stocks and junior oil stocks, and 5 out of 6 years I will beat them. 5 out of 6 years I will beat them. And once about every 6 years, man, my friends will kick my ass, right? Those junior miners, just once every 6 years has a good year. How long does it last is the question. We'll see. 2026 might be the year that for mining stocks, either dreams are made or dreams are crushed. But again, for me personally, one of the reasons that I have trouble with some of these stocks, especially the mining stocks, is I'm a bit risk off right now. I like revenue. I like companies making income. I really like companies making cash. Maybe if you could find some mining stocks that are doing that, I would look at them and say, not bad. But if they're a pre-revenue mining stock, oh man, I have trouble with that, right? Let's see. Stocks, cannabis jump because of Trump. Yeah, well, and hopefully the companies are doing a good job too. Right? They're improving slowly, but you know, Trump, he's done a lot of damage this year. It'd be nice if Trump could reverse some of that damage, at least for cannabis stocks. You know, throw us a bone, right? Gold, silver, and copper will be 2026, maybe. And yeah, absolutely. Good luck with that, right? That is one of the things I simply, on my channel, on my Discord, I do have channels for mining stocks and I have channels for oil and gas stocks. And I do everyone in my Discord a favor by not talking at all on those channels. Because it's just not this guy's kind of niche. I'm not super interested in that. So feel free to join the channel and check out the mining stocks, the gold, silver, copper, oil and gas stocks. But it's just not my niche. And each investor only has time for so many things, right? What's the hypothesis for D-Box Technologies? Do we think it will continue to grow, or has it reached its peak? Well, no, in theory, the company, well, let's separate the share price from the company. D-Box might have a weak quarter or two coming up, potentially, at least in the recurring revenue, right? Not a lot of banger movies out there, no summer blockbusters because it's winter time. So in theory, their recurring revenue or their royalty revenue might go down for a couple quarters. But there's people out there showing that their installation revenue right now might actually be going up as they work through some of their larger contracts. So we might see a seasonally low couple quarters for D-Box. We might not, but I think people that are really looking at this company are looking at the more seats they get installed, the more potential royalty revenue they have coming up in the future. And look, 2026, which is not that far away. We don't have to look for 2027, 2028, 2029. 2026 has a lot of banger movies coming out, right? Big blockbuster movies. Movie theaters are trying to make a comeback. I think this is their boom or bust right now. Either they bring people back to theaters, or what the hell are we doing? And they're trying to do that through these premium experiences like the D-Box seats. So I mean, people that want to talk about selling or trimming D-Box, and even if they have a couple weak quarters, that potentially by about mid to late 2026, this company's earnings should look pretty attractive, right? Nurse, absolutely. So Nurse is an interesting company. I own Nurse again. I bought and sold it 3 times, made money on it every time. I bought it for a 4th time. I have trouble buying a large position because I don't have a lot of conviction in management. I love what they're doing. Their potential is huge. If they can execute, their potential is huge. They'll go up in share price. I'll make a shit pile of money. I haven't done my research. I love Nurse because every once in a while in the microcap space, even myself that does so much research on stocks, I just have to look at a company and say, I don't have time. I don't have time. Nurse, which is Hydrate Technologies, is a great company. There are fantastic investors out there, especially on X, Twitter, that are covering this company, that are providing some free research and some free, basically analyst expectations for Hydrate on Twitter for free. And this is one of those stocks where I'm just saying, I'm looking at other people's opinions. That doesn't allow me a lot of conviction where I'm going to bet my house on the company, but I am liking their opinions enough that I'm willing to throw a few dollars into this company. And that's really, for me, what Hydrate Nurse comes down to, is that they've done nothing but go up, except for that one little blip at the end of 2025. They've executed pretty well, minus that little communication slip they had recently. If this continues, they're a high potential stock for 2026. Absolutely. Any thoughts for Earth Lab Spot? No, I have not looked at that one yet. A lot of people loving the precious minerals, critical minerals. Absolutely, right? Yes, in July, but Hash is drowning. Hash is drowning. Yeah, NTG Clarity Networks, NCI. I like NTG Clarity as well. Muted, right? This is one of these companies that I've been researching since they were 3.5 cents. They went up to damn near $3. Now they're back down to $1.35 or whatever. Talk about a crazy volatile year, right? And part of the question with some of these stocks is, yeah, they were too high in July at their 52-week peak. That share price went too high. Are they too low now? What is their average? What could normal look like? And it's interesting with some of these stocks, and I'm not saying with NTG Clarity Networks, but if I can look at a tried and tested favorite stock of mine that I've spent 50 hours researching, and I look at it and I'm like, it's potentially got 50% returns in 2026. It gets hard. It gets hard looking around and looking at new stocks and seeing higher potential than that, right? So again, I'm not saying that with NTG Clarity Networks or Zoomed or any of these other stocks that are down, but if you've done your research on some of your past favorite stocks and you're seeing like potential 50% returns with a little bit of improving economy and, improving macros and a little bit of execution, I mean, that's pretty tempting, right? Is CEMATRIX, based on your opinion, too small to be selected as a contractor in terms of rebuilding Ukrainian infrastructure? I don't know that they would be. It's a good question. There's no reason they couldn't. So one of the interesting things with CEMATRIX, right, is they don't need any products. All they need is their equipment. And so what they do is they build infrastructure. They replace dirt. So they don't actually, even though they're cellular concrete, they're not actually building anything real concrete. Basically, if you have a bridge approach, you have a choice. I can bring in dirt, which means you need excavators and loaders digging up the dirt and loading it into trucks. Trucks need to get to the site, dump it, and then have bulldozers level it out, right? You need all this equipment to get dirt from point A to point B. Or you could just hire CEMATRIX and pour this cellular concrete. They can get the concrete from anywhere. So in theory, they just need to move their equipment. I'm not saying it wouldn't be possible. That's the first I've heard of it, though. That is the first I've heard of it. So good question. I mean, if you want share price to double, that rumor on that rumor on social media would probably get share price to double, because my gosh, there would be, infrastructure, construction infrastructure money to be made in Ukraine for a company like they just leave Canada at this point, right? It's just get out of here. That would be 20 years of just a banging stock if they could actually get contracts in Ukraine. Significant. They need to up the anxiety. They need to up the the conversations to shareholders about how we're going to get some shit done a little bit quicker, because they have been moving incredibly slow. And in these types of markets, again, I showed that previous slide on Zoom. Microcap investors are not patient anymore, right? Why, if you're a small retail investor, why would you hold this stock that potentially is going to have good returns in 3 years when there's some banging stocks out there right now that could give you a good return in 3 months? And microcap investors are starting to learn that a little more, right? I feel like a lot of this space, especially back like 2022, there was a lot more long-term investors. There was a lot more people that were willing to just buy a stock and coffee can it and look a decade out. Nowadays, I feel like people are kind of using this playbook a little bit more. And that's why I bring up these slides with even Ryan Telford talking about momentum. What's going to have momentum in 2026? If these companies can't generate some momentum, it's tough for them. And you could see that with Roof in 2025. They had some momentum and they lost it, right? So if they can get that back, it would be nice. Absolutely. Sabio would be my best pick for biggest XX in ad tech. Only bone that hasn't yet. Glad to know I'm not the only investor in the world who still likes this company. They really pissed me off. They had a really bad Q3 that surprised even me. I did not like that. I feel like management has overextended themselves. I feel like they've taken too many risks in 2025. And here's the thing with ad tech, is that I feel like if ad tech is poor in 2026, a company like Zoomed will at least survive. Zoomed has $18 million of cash, no debt. And even if 2026 sucks, eventually ad tech could rebound, and a company, a stock like Zoom, you could come out of that ahead. One of the problems with a company like Sabio is it's a bit more boom or bust. With their debt, I think they have $6 million of debt. They have a convertible note for about $1.2 million, but mostly look at the working capital. If they do not have a good 2026, if 2026 sucks for Sabio, I don't know what happens there. So be very careful. I like this company. I like the niche that they're in. I like that they're on connected TV, streaming, advertising. Like, they're one of the few companies out there, at least in the public space, that is doing this. They just took on a lot of risk, and I hope that 2026 turns out to be a very good year for them, because if it is, share price could go up. But man, I feel like they overextended themselves this year. My buys next week, add to current position, are Sabio, ROMJ, QESS, ETOLF, and start new positions with 2 of your 2026 picks. Good luck. Is that Enterprise Group? That's the US ticker ETOLF, I wonder. Enterprise Group. I don't know what QESS is. ROMJ is Rubicon Organics. It's a cannabis stock. I think Small Cap Discoveries is doing an interview on them now. And Sabio. Look, Sabio... boom or bust, right? I don't know if it can go. I actually introduced Sabio Holdings at 25 cents. It rocketed up to 77 cents. I think it was February of 2025. It was up 200%, 300%, whatever it is. And now it's back down to 25 cents. If I have to show you, I mean, I've been talking about this a lot, but like I talk about how microcap investors are learning. This is always one of my learning experiences. I could bring up some of these stocks is that, and I believe Ian Castle was talking about this too recently, is that it's not about stock picking. Microcap investing isn't necessarily about stock picking, right? You can get 2 different investors invest in the same stock, and one investor will lose money and one will make money. I lucked out. I think I introduced Sabio right down here. They went as low as like 23 cents. But you could buy Sabio there for quite a while at 25 cents, 26 cents, 26.5 cents. And they went up here. You look at that, right? 77 cents in early 2025. And now they're back down to 25 cents. So from mid 2024 to end of 2025, we're talking about in a microcap stock in 18 months. This thing went from 25 cents to 77 cents to 25 cents. So depending, I mean, if you bought here and you sold here, you made an absolute killing. And if you got too excited and you bought here and you panic sold down here, you lost a shit pile of money. And welcome to microcap stocks. And that's why, you know, I think on this presentation that I had out there is basically Ryan Telford saying that, you know, momentum is everything, and be careful. Like, stocks and companies come and go, but your strategy is what's going to make you or lose you money. And there's no better example for that than Sabio Holdings, right? So let's see here. What are your thoughts about Paul Andriola and Sewer Robots? So that is Sewerview Technologies. That is part of that, or in an acquisition under Name Silo, which Paul Andriola is the owner or CEO of Name Silo. Would you bet against them, right? It seems like it's a great little technology, Sewerview is, that has blue sky potential, and they have the cash to fund that potential, and a master of capital allocation in Paul Andriola. I'm not gonna, yeah, there you go. I mean, Name Silo. I'm not really gonna bet against that, right? When you put capital in the hands of a guy who's good at deploying capital, that's exactly what you want in a microcap stock, right? So, yeah, I'm actually Paul Andriola is off touring right now. I don't know what appetite there would be, but I'll probably look at doing some interviews with Paul Andriola on Name Silo in 2026, because I feel like he doesn't get enough marketing and communication and exposure to microcap investors because he can't interview his own company, right? So I feel like somebody has to step in and kind of interview Paul Andriola every once in a while about Name Silo. And I would be willing to do that if he's willing, but I'm sure I think Microcap Club has also started doing that, so that might be a better option for them. That would be absolutely no problem for me, but the offer is out there, right? What do you think about the microcap mining stock MMY? I have no idea what that is. Bloom Energy, same thing. Sorry, new stock. I could put it on my list for January 2026, but right now I'm just not there yet. How about Enwave, especially with the recent quarterly and the potential long-term possibilities with cannabis? Look, I got to take another look at Enwave. This was another one of those stocks I feel like was a winning stock that kind of got out of hand here. I'll just pull up the chart here for Enwave. And presentation 2, there we go, 35 cents. So I introduced this one at, was it 26, 27, 28 cents? It was somewhere in here. Really good timing, right? Sometimes you have to be lucky to be good and good to be lucky. Right? And I had a horseshoe on this one because right after I introduced it down here, it shot up to, what is it, 55 cents. And then I just lost interest at this point, right? You get some of these good little companies with great potential in the microcap space, and sometimes they just run up a little too much for my comfort level. Now it seems to have come down. It's starting to consolidate. They just released earnings. I have to tell you, I looked at the highlights. I thought the earnings were pretty good. Now, I have not dug into the CDAR earnings. I have not looked at their MD&A or financial statements. I just read the press release on Yahoo Finance. But obviously, I liked it more than the market did because today it was down 15%. So starting to look a little bit more appealing as it's consolidating in price. We'll see where price goes from here, but I'll probably take another look at Enwave in 2026 because you're right. I mean, I did lose interest in them after they basically doubled very quickly. But now with new earnings to look at, another input to look at, and share price coming down, it's worth another look. But I don't have an opinion right now because I haven't looked at them since I made my video on them. What are my thoughts about Bitfarm? Never heard of it. That's a cryptocurrency stock, probably not for my channel. I am an hour and 9 minutes into this live stream. Thanks again, Cameron. Thank you. I'm going to end it here. I am going to end it here. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody again for joining this channel over the past year. I was devastated last year around this time in 2024 when I lost my channel on December of 26th of 2024, went from 6,000 subscribers to 0. It's been a painful, long, slow rebuild, but I'm very happy with the platform I have, with the people on the platform, all the wonderful investors out there that contribute and watch these videos. I really appreciate you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again in a week on a private live stream. And/or again, don't forget, try out that 30-day free trial and go take a look at all my content and see if it's for you or not, right? And wish you luck. Hopefully December 15th today is the bottom. We get a Santa Claus rally and things look up from here, right? That's all we can hope for. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you again soon.